I've been asked to do a tutorial, a demonstration of how I paint figures. Well, I picked this up yesterday when I had to go out of town for doctor reasons and found this at a hobby shop. So I plan to do it on this. A few notes before we get started. That one, you'll have to forgive my hands. My hands will be in shot. They'll have to be, and my nails look awful. I have a skin condition. It gets in my nails. It also gives me arthritis in my fingers. So you will see my yucky nails and you will see my swollen joints. And you're just going to have to deal with that. So, that out of the way, this is the actual, it's not a complicated one, you know, these are laser swords, we don't need those right now. You know, we just have a few runners of parts, like this is mostly backpack and weapon stuff right here. These are going to be some trim colors, and these are going to be the majority is going to be on this, because it's this kit. One cool thing, because this is a Bandai kit, which you don't see in Kotobukiya or the Motoroid kits. It's bilingual. You've got your Japanese, but you also have plenty of English language. You know, it explains everything. The other thing that's really cool about a lot of these Japanese kits, and again, because it's Bandai, it's bilingual, it gives you a color guide. So, you know, if you want to paint and color match, it tells you how to mix the colors. We're gonna mostly be ignoring this because part of the fun for me is to be creative with it. But this instruction book, we're not going to be dealing with that in the video, because this is going to be about painting. So I'm just going to be focusing on how I paint. A note on my tools. So this is a little eyeshadow sponge brush thing that came with a cheap makeup set, and these can be really good for certain effects and blending and that sort of thing. Cheap makeup sponges, they're really good for certain paintings, but sometimes you just want a Sharpie. A nice little silver Sharpie can be really good for little bits that are hard to reach with paint, or you know, that sort of thing. A paint marker is also not amiss, especially for certain touch-up spots and that sort of thing. But you know, most of your brushes, you know, you're gonna want to kind of play around and find what brushes feel good to you for what you're doing. But one of your best bets is not to go with synthetic brushes. Synthetic brushes may be cheaper initially, but if you take care of them, a bit more expensive natural brush like this. This is a Winsor Newton Series 7 number 2. Winsor Newton makes really good sable brushes. Natural hair. If you take care of it, you wash it, you can even use conditioner on it because it is hair. It's soft, it's springy, it's flexible, and it will hold up. The synthetic stuff does not. Synthetic fibers very quickly go to hell. They fray, they break, they'll never really align true again. They turn into stuff like this. This isn't a cheap synthetic brush, and you see it looks like hell. It looks really bad. It's all frayed. It's nasty. Sometimes these nasty brushes can be useful for effects and stuff, but for the most part, no. So the other thing is, this is not going to be about a good, smooth, clean finish. For that, you're really going to want to go with airbrush or rattle can, and there's plenty of tutorials about that. That's not really how I paint. I paint with brushes, and I do a textured and especially weathered look. And like, look at this. Look at this thing. It's begging to be painted like a beat up old tank. It's just begging to be made to look like a beat up old tank. You know, something from World War II looking. So, that's the kind of tutorial I'm going to be doing. A word about paints. I don't use anything fancy. You know, some people like enamels. That's fine. I use just acrylics, just, you know, deco art, the folk art, apple barrel, just regular old, like the, you know, well, maybe not the deco art, but you can get these at like Walmart or Target or, you know, any regular craft store. Just, you know, these cost you between 50 cents and $2 a bottle. Nothing really special. I tend to like satin finishes, but I don't always find the colors I want in a satin finish. And you can do stuff with varnishes, which I'm not going to be talking about because I don't do a lot of varnishing. I'm sure you can find much better videos around, you know, on YouTube and stuff for talking about varnish and finish. There's also some really good advanced technique videos out there. I've seen plenty of painting tutorials that go into like some really detailed, interesting ideas. But this, you know, some of those are kind of advanced and not the kind of thing that you want to start off with. Those are the kinds of videos where you kind of flummox, I think, watching it, going, huh, how do I do what? You might get overwhelmed, is what I'm saying. So, like, what we're going to start with is painting it on the runners, on the sprue, and we always start with a nice dark base. So this is going to be my base coat. And you see it's much darker than than what I had. This and I've got some other greens that those are your base coats, and we're going to start with those. This is our base coat. Just think of it as a primer, and it doesn't have to be on there real smooth. You just want to get it in there, a good a decent coverage. You can see it's streaky, but that's okay because it's just a base coat. It's just flat black, big bottle, cheap, but I find that this really sticks, and I decided to go with a black because it's such a dark gray or dark green that like this will be one of our top coats, and this will be we use this for some highlight colors. But you want to get the base coat on there. You want to start dark and work lighter. You start dark so you get all those nice crevices with a darker color, and it makes them stand out better when you're finished. This also works as, like I say, a kind of primer. It makes the other paint stick to it much easier. That's why it doesn't really matter if it's streaky here, because it's just going to get covered up anyway. Now that the black has had a chance to dry, we're going to do our another coat, dark. Basically, what we're doing is kind of like a dry brush, where we have very little paint on the brush. We're just kind of scrubbing it on there, just light little strokes. And again, it doesn't have to. This doesn't have to be, completely covered, because we're going to be building up and building up lighter and lighter coats. It's going to get lighter and lighter, and we're just going to keep doing this. We're going to go with this forest green. I'm not used to doing this in my lap. I'm used to holding it, so forgive me. But yeah, we just get very little paint on the brush. Very little paint on the brush. Yeah, we'll talk like Bob Ross. It's kind of splotching. It's like I said, it's a lot like a dry brush. But a dry brush is barely any paint at all, where you just you blotch it out like that, and then just barely cover. That's dry brushing, which works better with metallics than this. So that's not what we're doing. Sorry, I'm trying to paint and hold the camera at the same time. I don't have a tripod, so please forgive me for the sloppy camera work. I don't have anyone to hold the camera for me, and I don't have a tripod. And I'm just filming this on my phone because that's kind of all I have right now. So I'm going to do the rest of this off. Now that you've seen what I'm doing and gotten a better idea, I'm going to do the rest of this off camera. Now we've got a nice coat of the forest green, and you can see it's still splotchy, but again, this is fine. This is partly this is just how this technique works, and partly this is the idea that we're building up. Slowly but surely, we're building and building and building, and it gets lighter and the color gets more solid. But also, we're doing a weathering. We don't want it to be too smooth. It needs to look weathered and old and kind of crappy, dirty, which we will actually have a dirt layer at one point. But right now, this round shield is real good for illustrating, for using. So now we've got this color, this avocado from Mexico, and we just kind of do the same thing. Splotch, splotch, splotch. We don't want it to be too smooth. Now, if I was going for a smoother look, I wouldn't be splotching. I'd be doing, I'd be using a different brush, in fact. So, we're doing that. If I was going for a smooth look, oh, that wasn't on camera. I'm sorry. If I was going for a smooth look, I wouldn't be doing it as blotching. I would be using a different brush and a different technique. I'm sorry, I keep getting off camera. This is a little awkward and difficult, and I do apologize for that. So you can see what's happening. We're getting lighter, lighter, and we're building up our lighter colors. We're building up texture. We're building up more weathered look. And don't worry about where the sprue connects, where the gate. They're called gates, because we're gonna clip these off, and then we'll do touch-ups after the figure's put together. We'll do a touch-up pass. It's just much easier to do the majority of the painting when you have, oops, I did it again, when you have everything nice and laid out on runners, and you don't have to worry about parts bumping into each other and all that pain in the butt stuff. So, you've seen, what I'm doing. Again, I'm going to finish this pass on off camera, and then we'll come back. Alright, now we've got a nice coat on these. Some of them you can see are still dark. Why are they still dark? Because I'm going to paint them a little lighter. This mossy meadow. And I'm going to switch to a little bit more controlled brush. So, this one, we're not going to see the same effects. It's it's going to come out less splotchy because it's flat, and I'm not doing the same kind of technique. But again, we're doing very little paint on the brush itself, and we're still kind of doing this, doing this technique that lends itself to a more weathered look, not a smooth, clean look. But like I said, when you've got something like looking like what this looks like, I just look at this and go, no, it's begging to be painted like a rough and tumble old tank. That this isn't a nice, clean, smooth. This is mass produced, and it's seen a lot of heavy industrial use kind of a thing. If I was doing a more industrial, like a bulldozer kind of thing, I would certainly be doing lots of this type of technique with lots of dirt and rust and scrapes and that sort of thing. So, again, you can see how it starts to come out, and it will darken as it dries. It's pretty light colored right now. There we go. Because it gets darker as it dries, and I'm going to finish this off camera, and then you've seen how I'm working on it. So now I'm going to show one of my favorite things. So these were all gray, and I based them in black already. Of course, these were already black. They'll get their own treatment. And these were an orangey red, but I don't want them to, I don't like that. It kind of clashes to me, so I went with an orangey gold color. I think that'll look a lot better. But all these on here are going to get a metallic treatment. Now, here's one of my favorite paints. They're a little harder to find. It's the Folk Art Brushed Metal. It's a matte finish metallic. So, this comes in several colors. There's a bronze, there's an antique gold, there's a regular gold, there's a rose gold, there's a regular silver, there's a light silver, and there is a black. And I love it. I love them. The rose gold and stuff is usually you can... and there's a gunmetal. Sorry. This one's gunmetal, which just means dark gray. But you can find them in packs sometimes. They're a little harder to find. You'll probably have to go online. And certainly when I was looking earlier this year, they were very hard to find because they were sold out everywhere. But they have this wonderful metallic look to them. I absolutely adore how these turn out. Oops. It's wobbling all over the place, and there's my finger in the way. Sorry. So I'll do... One of the things I'll do is I'll do it once in one direction. I'll do one coat in this direction, and then I'll do another coat in this direction, and that helps with some of the brush strokes. Now sometimes you want all the brush strokes to go in the same direction to give it more texture, but sometimes you don't want them to do that. You don't want that texture, so it's better to kind of try and break it up and keep it from being too obvious. You get this. It's just such a lovely, lovely metallic. These are the gold, the orangey gold that I've already used was one of these, and the black parts will get a treatment with the black metallic, brushed metal. Obviously that's a clear part, that's an eyepiece that'll go on later, so that won't get painted. And this part will be pretty much all internal, so it won't get painted, but some of these other parts will have paint on them, especially like this. It's the rifle. Okay. Hours later. So, what we're going to do now is take, come on, focus. There we go. We're going to take this. We've done all our building. We've done our paint touch-ups. We just haven't actually put all the sections together, because what we're going to do is we're going to take a kind of ratty brush, dip it in the flat black, and kind of scrub and get it just a little bit. And we're going to put little bits of black for some weathering effects. Some dirt, some grime. You don't want it to be too clean with this kind of technique. It's very gentle. See, one thing is, if we get too much, we can always go back with our paints and cover up some. It's like, oh, it's too black. There's too much of this. It's too dirty. It's too grimy. Well, we have more paint. We always have more paint. We can always go back and cover up some. See, like there, I got a little much in that neck region. So I'm sure I'll go back and tinker with that. This is really difficult to do one-handed, and I'm just trying to illustrate. So we're not going to actually work on that right now. But we are going to take our silver Sharpie. So here we go. We're following along the edges, the little, Again, this is not easy to do one-handed. And yeah, it just creates nice little scuff marks. Makes it look dinged up. Now, the other thing is to take your brown and various colors of brown, and then you do some of the scrubbing and the with your tussled up ratty brush that you scrubbed, and doing it kind of like a dry brush. And you get in the little crevices, and you get in these little crevices like this with the brown, and it makes dirt. And you get a nice reddish brown, and you take a fine point brush, and you make little streaks, and that'll get us like rust running down. So, because I really can't demonstrate that one-handed, I'm going to do a kind of jump cut. Okay, so we used a territorial beige and a coffee bean. So you can see the coffee bean, it runs down in these little streaks. I'm really trying to get it to focus here. Okay, you can kind of see. We've got these, these streaks, these reddish brown streaks, and edges and stuff, and that's like rust. And then we've got the lighter brown, the territorial beige, that works as dirt and just kind of crud. And yeah, so having the combination of the different effects, it makes some of the scratches look older, it makes some of them look newer, and you can really layer it up and get a depth of weathering. So we'll have a look when it's more done. Here we have the completed, all the paint put together, all that fun stuff. So the other thing to keep in mind is to kind of give the paint time to set up, especially with certain kinds. If you're using like indoor, outdoor, or stuff that's labeled as dishwasher safe, you want to have it enough time to cure. Ultimately, though, the biggest, most important rule in all this is don't take anything as gospel. Use what the examples that I've given and that you can find in other places as a jumping off point. Find your own methods, your own techniques, your own ideas about figure painting. It's all about being creative. It's all about doing what you enjoy. That's the point of it being a hobby. So don't take anyone's ideas as gospel. Good fundamentals are always a great place to start, but even the fundamentals can be bent if not broken. So take what hopefully you've learned and try something else. Try something new. Find your own path and just have fun with it. And the thing about it, especially using acrylics, is you can always remove it and start over. It's water-based paint. You can always use alcohol. You can strip the parts. Nothing has to be final. Or you can just paint over it. Nothing has to be final. So I hope this was helpful. I hope you learned some things. I hope it wasn't too shaky or wobbly or the sound was too bad or anything like that. I hope it was watchable, in short. Thanks.